A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Well, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. A Look at Finance with Steve Carlton.
And it's snowing and cold out.
Well, happy spring.
Finally.
good,
I
I know.
don't see it yet, but I know it's out. We're close.
I do think we dodged a bullet. Not as good as, well, the stock market didn't seem to dodge a bullet today.
That was ugly.
Well, yeah, a little bit on the ugly side there.
Sure.
Let's start there.
Sure.
200-point drop. I mean, we get used to these wild swings in the market.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, the expert, what do you think? What causes something like that?
You know, to put it in perspective, this isn't a local issue. This isn't earnings things. This is what's happening from a global perspective. This is what's happening in China right now and what's happening in Ukraine with Russia. Everybody's looking to the east and watching what's happening with on the eastern front of Ukraine. They're watching Crimea. The Russians are amassing troops. There's a lot of nervousness. I don't think there's necessarily panic selling, but there's a lot of panic questions being asked. A lot of people are saying, what does it mean? You know, is Europe going to, keep ratcheting up? Is there going to be sanctions like we did with Iran and Syria? That uncertainty, I think, makes the market really nervous.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, as we both know, and our viewers know, they're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Internet. And one of the things that goes to show is that global news becomes local news.
It does.
And that, it's going to be resolved one way or another. Yep. But just that bit of an apprehension, even in global politics, affects the stock market and the perspective that our viewers would have. Right?
Well, I had a 93-year-old client talk to me today, and he said, what do you think about China and its declining exports and its, its banking sector? And you're right, access to this kind of information was unheard of 20 years ago. And so, yeah, that absolutely, locally, people are much more aware of it. They know that China's exports are down. They know that the banking system, the bonds are an issue. They know that Russia's doing, some brinkmanship with the U.S. And that makes, people locally, it's surprising how many people know that stuff is going on.
Talking about information, always something people seem to zone in on every month, of course, are the unemployment numbers. And you get the state numbers and you get the Fed numbers. But I've noticed that you make a lot of reference to something called initial claims numbers, which comes out on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so the initial claims report is something we've been watching now, and I've talked a lot about it on Look TV, saying we wanted to see initial claims creep down. And so we've watched it go from 375, 380 last year, trickle down to 345, 350, and I said that was a tipping point. As that broke down and weakened, and that means less people are getting laid off. So it's actually good news. The lower that number is, the better. And so we had a good number today. The number that came out was 315,000. This is improving. And so, all the uncertainty in Ukraine, all the uncertainty in China and stuff like that, but the local story, the national story, is an improving situation.
And just in case we didn't clarify it, initial claims means initial claims for unemployment benefits.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, that has to be good news, right?
Yeah, we've seen unemployment, go from 8% down to 7%. Now we're at that 6.6 level. By no means are we out of the woods yet, but what we're seeing is improvement. And the fact that companies are laying off less is a positive sign. Is it fixed? Absolutely not. Do we have challenges? Are the majority of Americans still feeling like we're in a recession, even though the stock market's at highs? Absolutely. I don't think anybody would argue that. But there is encouraging numbers there, and that's something we want to not ignore.
Well, if we ever get past this winter, I suppose that just the sense of its spring alone is going to be encouraging. The retailers will start to wake up. So I guess what we're both saying here is that you really are sort of forecasting a healthy second quarter, third quarter.
We always kind of try to look and read the tea leaves. There's nobody has a crystal ball. But I'll tell you something. We were talking about retail sales last week. The retail sales number came out for February, and it improved pretty dramatically over what January's numbers were. So even though we had a very cold, very snowy February across a lot of the country, the retail sales numbers did improve. Were they dramatically high? No. But they were an improvement over January. So
you would expect, because of the weather, that they would have just taken a nosedive.
Yeah,
so that's got to be encouraging news.
So absolutely, there is a lot of positive news in there, and that's what we need to continue. We need to see improvement across the board in all those areas, and more of it.
Gotcha. Well, we've got some positive news locally.
Absolutely.
The High Five Leadership Grant. We've closed the voting.
Amazing.
As Stephen knows, we have over 1,000 entries, and the top two candidates are, I think, like 20 votes apart.
This
It's
is
the first
amazing.
time we've ever hit this number.
Yeah.
First time we've ever gotten the reaction from the
Yep.
community on this.
Yeah.
So I do want to take the opportunity to thank you and everyone
Oh.
at Johnny Montgomery Scott
Yeah.
for making this possible. You've been a
it's been a lot of
supporter
fun.
of play-by-play for years now.
Yeah, 5 seasons now.
I
It's
can't
amazing.
believe it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you step up to the plate and offer this $1,000 award to a deserving student is really something. Now, we're not going to announce the winner yet because we're still collecting some of the information.
Right.
Because it's not only a popularity
Correct.
contest, but it has to do with their scholastic ability, sportsmanship, and their
Community
involvement.
service, yep,
Right.
the feedback. You know, this is a big thing. We're a small community. We're very close knit. You know, we talk about businesses on Broadway and in Glens Falls and in the area. You know, it really is. We're not a big city, and one of the benefits of that is you get to know the schools, know the principals, get to meet the families in these events. So it's been a privilege to do it for the last 5 seasons. You know, we're a small investment firm, and it just fits really nicely to be in a small community and having that kind of thing. So it's thank
Well,
you for having us a part of it.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, we're all very grateful for your support. And you're right. It's a community involvement program.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know what else to say. It's just
Looking at the winners from the last couple seasons and getting to meet the families and the kids, that's what I'm really looking forward to, is going to the school and meeting the family, and yeah, that's such a great part. And so yeah, you can still go on the website.
You're going to do the big check thing.
I love the big check. It is a little tricky bringing it in the car though, because it is big, but it's all part of the fun, right? It really is.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
All right, well, Stephen, thanks
Jesse,
very much. Great to
thanks
see
so
you
much.
as always.
Good to see you too.
And we'll
Thank
see you next week.
Sounds good.
Good. And to see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.